I would never in a million years think I would marry a Yemenite. I would never think, but that's exactly what I needed. Went to college and started becoming kind of religious on my own towards like the age of 24, 25.
Wow, what triggered that?
I grew up in an Israeli home by two Yemenite parents. So my parents can speak Arabic if they wanted to between each other, but Hebrew was the language of the house. But I didn't know Hashem until I was around 30 years old when I decided to become religious myself. We did the math. We both became religious around the same time.
Yeah.
So we're 5 years apart, and
our age difference is 5 years apart.
And she was around 25 and I was around 30.
Yeah. It's been like 10, 11 years. I wouldn't do that for a guy. Like, what are you talking about? Like, no. If I want to do it, I want to do it on my own. Like, not knowing. Not even like 3 weeks later.
I remember as a Yemenite person, one time I told a person, he's like, what are you looking for? I was like, anything but a Yemenite. He's like, careful, don't say that. I was like, why not? He's like, your mazal might be a Yemenite and you're pushing off your mazal. I was like, okay, all right, I hear you.
They started to get married. And that's when it like hit. And I was like, oh my gosh, wait, if they're getting married and I'm still single, like, who do I hang out with now? How do I meet people? Like, where do I go?
She pushes all the buttons, but she also ticks all the boxes. Like, she's perfect for me. There's no one better. And you know, because everyone needs the Interconnectivity. You're not going to find, if you're looking for something that's just perfect, I guarantee it's not real.
Yeah. Doesn't exist.
Welcome back to your favorite podcast, Stories of Hope. Before we begin, I want to talk to you about my favorite app that brings the best deals, PZ Deals. You want a washing machine? PZ Deals. You want a Hanes pack of 10 t-shirts for the best price? PZ Deals. You want Apple EarPods? Drum roll, you know it, it's PZ Deals. So if you don't have it yet, download the PZ Deals app, because with PZ Deals, you'll never pay full price again. And now, without further ado, I'd like to talk to you about this week's episode, our beautiful, brave couple, Sheba and Orion. And just like their names, which are unique, you'll learn about their spiritual odysseys, their cultural differences, and how a special trip to Barnes & Noble and interest in astrology brought the two of them together. I know you're going to love this episode, so get excited for another handcrafted, bravely invited special couple that's going to open your mind and change your hearts on Stories of Hope. Hi, I'm Tzipora Grodko, and this is the Stories of Hope podcast. Sheba and Orion, thank you so much for coming on our podcast. I'm really excited to hear from both of you. And Sheba, start us off with where you're from and what your background is like.
I originally grew up in Jersey, in Upper Saddle River. I went to Jewish school in Paramus, went to Yavne Academy, and just grew up like the usual traditional Persian, which is we didn't keep Shabbat, but we always had Shabbat dinner, kept kosher in the house, but ate out dairy. Wasn't observant, but we kind of just but Judaism was very important in our house. Like, I'm very grateful for my parents. Like, they always sent us to Jewish school. So that was I think that was a huge influence on me as well, just growing up. And then when I turned 14, we moved to Great Neck in Long Island, where it's predominantly more Persian and Sephardic.
A lot more than Saddle River in New Jersey.
Yeah. It was like very much Ashkenaz. So it was definitely a huge change and switch, because I grew up learning everything Ashkenaz. And once I found out that I was saying Birkat Hamazon wrong my entire life, I was like, oh, okay, this is fun. But we moved to Great Neck and then went to North Shore Hebrew Academy High School. And then went to college and started becoming kind of religious on my own towards the age of 24, 25.
Wow, what triggered that?
I started to go on Israel trips, started volunteering with outreach programs, started becoming closer with Rabbanim, going to single events, Shabbatons, volunteering a lot. That definitely was a huge push. And I had really good mentors and influences which was a really good support system and like learning a lot also. So yeah.
Wow. Beautiful. Okay. Thank you for giving us a little sneak peek into your life. Orion, what about you?
Same question.
Same question. Yeah.
So my history, born in Brooklyn.
I heard of it.
Grew up in an Israeli home by two Yemenite parents. So my parents can speak Arabic if they wanted to between each other, but Hebrew was the language of the house. I also went to yeshiva up until the 5th grade. For whatever reason, my mom decided to take me out and put me in public school. And then we also grew up in a very traditional house. So we celebrated, but didn't observe. Wasn't strict like that. Eventually, my family did become religious. Started with the parents because of something in the family, like a death in the family. And then the parents became religious. The siblings became religious, and I was the last one to join them. I think it took me about 18 years before I decided to become religious. I was around 16 years old, so I was just coming into my own.
What a time for your family to be transitioning, and you're like,
permit, driver license, independence, freedom. You're not going to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Getting the chest hair sprouting and all that stuff. Like nobody's going to tell me what to do. I'm out here doing my thing. So that was hard. And I got my wake up call. Like my wife, everything was there was always spirituality. Even if I wasn't connected, if I didn't feel connected to Hashem through the standard normal way of connecting through Torah and prayer and all these things, I always knew he existed. I would speak to him. I would complain to him a lot. But I didn't know Hashem until I was around 30 years old when I decided to become religious myself. Mine wasn't a crazy story. I had a leg injury that had me in bed a lot. I couldn't walk too much. It was very debilitating. And I was binge watching TV. And it gets to a point where you're not even watching. Like, your TV will ask you, are you still watching? Like, it's just on. It's just background noise, And eventually I decided to do something that was very different. And I decided to read a book. Just something to calm the mind. And I went to Barnes and Nobles, and the things that I'm interested in was always like astrology and astronomy, things that wouldn't help you in everyday life. I'm not talking about like your daily horoscope, but I liked reading about the constellations and signs and mazals and all that stuff. And then I was so into it that by the second, I devoured all the books that I bought from Barnes & Nobles. I never had the patience to read anything but the cover and the back cover of a book. And now I had a book here and one thrown there and one thrown there. And I finished all of them. I was like, you know what? I'm going back for a second round. Went back to Barnes & Noble, and the little nitzot, that spark that you have in you, the neshama, is like, I felt guilty that all the books that I were reading were about astronomy, because for me, I thought it might be like avodah zarah. I'm like, I'm putting so much faith into the stars when I know, Avinu v'Sheva Shemayim. So I was like, let me go to the Judaism section. Let me just grab one book so I won't feel so guilty about everything. And then it started with a book on something with like Shlomo Melech. It wasn't a book on Shlomo Melech. It was a book about finances, but it had quotes from Mishle, from Proverbs. And every time I read a proverb, I was like, wait, that was us. I thought a lot of these phrases were coined within the last couple of 100 years. I thought they were more modern. I didn't know they were thousands of years. I didn't know they were ancient. And once I knew that, I said, listen, if this is true, then I want to go straight to the source. And I decided to buy a chumash in Hebrew English, even though I spoke Hebrew and I speak Hebrew well. The Hebrew of the Torah is different. So I wanted to get everything translated. I got my Siddur in Hebrew English. I got my Chumash in Hebrew English. And I didn't want to read a book unless it was written by a rabbi. And that was my story. And we did the math. We both became religious around the same time.
Yeah.
So we're 5 years apart. And
our age difference is 5 years apart.
And she was around 25 and I was around 30.
Yeah. It's been like 10, 11 years.
Fascinating.
Zoveg zivugim.
Yeah.
Wow. We never know why we have to wait. And sometimes we're waiting for the person to evolve. We're waiting for ourselves to evolve to meet that person. And that's pretty fascinating. I'm so fascinated by everything you just shared. I'm curious to hear, well, two things. One is, of course, I need to know what zodiac you are.
Aquarius.
Aquarius.
Do you know anything about the signs?
I do. And I had a feeling. I'm an Aquarius, so nice to meet you.
Oh, yeah.
no way.
When's your birthday?
February 4th.
Oh, February 7th.
Happy birthday.
Happy belated.
And what are you?
I'm a Virgo.
Virgo. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Some people listening are like, what are they talking about? It's like
if you know, you know.
Yeah.
If you know, you know. And probably you know, I mean, it's mazalim. It comes from like Judaism, right?
100%.
Can you share a little bit of what you know from that interconnectivity?
I mean,
based on your research?
Well, we know that, even the Mazalim, we have 12 zodiac signs, which are based on the 12 tribes. And you also have even Avraham Avinu in the Brit Ben Abetarim, when Hashem was talking to him about his future, and he was going to make his progeny more numerous than the sand. He says, look up at the stars. And Avraham looked up at the stars and said, what? He says, but I see that I'm not going to have any children. I don't have any children in my future. How did he know? He was using astronomy and astrology. So Hashem says, I, who created the universe, I created the stars. I could do anything. I could move the whole world for you. I could do whatever I want. So it's real. And even Shlomo Melech, we know, who was able not only to just understand the language of even plant life, even if when the wind blew, he knew what was happening, on the other side of the world, birds chirping, animals, whatever have you, and even the movement of the planets.
And is that something that people can predict today? Or is that astronomy?
As a matter of fact, I remember learning halacha that it says any person who's able to learn and understand the movement of the heavenly spheres, it's incumbent upon them to do that. Because we base our entire religion on the movement of the moon, on the lunar cycle. So it's right there in our face. Every month we're deciding all the holidays are based on Rosh Chodesh.
Right.
Without knowing when Rosh Chodesh is, you'll never know when the rest of the holidays are. So it's definitely something to it. There's no doubt.
Fascinating. Okay, thank you for that fascinating commercial break. Oh, we have a lot to talk about after. Life is confusing and it's always exciting if there's some way to learn some of the secrets. And if you don't know Kabbalah and you can't study it or something, it's just Torah is infinite in its knowledge. And when you meet someone that knows a little bit more, you're like, share the secrets, please.
Yes, Orion has a lot to share.
As I'm sure you do too. And I want to ask, before we continue on with both of your stories, I'm so curious to hear, what was it like to practice in a traditional sense? Did it feel special? Did it feel confusing? Did it feel like mandated and annoying? What was it like for both of you?
I was definitely comfortable. Grew up in a very over-loving home. And I definitely, it became a little confusing when I went to a modern Orthodox school and I would learn certain things, but then came home and we didn't practice it. But I just knew, okay, that's not where we're holding. So that's just not where we're holding. But when I started to take a little more upon myself on my own and kind of became a little more curious, I was like, oh, okay. I remember learning this in school. Oh, wow. I remember learning this in school. But it was comfortable at home. I was just comfortable. I didn't even, even growing up, in high school or in college, I didn't even think oh yeah, I'm not holding at that point. It was just that was your norm. That's what we did at home. Yeah. That's it. My family was that way. My extended family, most of my friends were Shomer Shabbat actually, which is funny. So I was surrounded by it my entire life. But that's just not where I held. Yeah.
And what about you?
I think for me it's different because I went to public school in the middle of 5th grade, so everything changed. It was a very, very different lifestyle, and I was definitely influenced by my peers and my surrounding, and doing something at home and doing something outside of the house. It's very different because we kept kosher in the house, but we wouldn't keep kosher outside the house. Right. Not that we were eating, chazil, but still, once you become religious, there's kosher and then there's not kosher. And if a person wants to say, listen, I only have dairy at this place, or I only have fish outside, that's fine. But there's kosher and then there's not kosher. There's not really a gray area in this matter. So I didn't know these things. I didn't appreciate these things. And In my house, it was more of because my father's old school Yemenite, like the OG.
Like he came on a camel?
No, but his like his traditions and his dialect they predate everything. The story of the Yemenites, it's a quick clip. Story of the Yemenites is that when the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed the first time and everyone split and they were all sent to these different countries, the Jews in Yemen didn't want to come back when Israel Sofel came and gathered everyone, because they had, through Ruach HaKodesh, they could see in the future that the second Beit HaMikdash was going to be destroyed. Say, why come back in order to be exiled again? We're staying.
I hear that.
So the Yemenites have the oldest tradition dating back to the Beit HaMikdash because their traditions didn't change. All the other Jews that went to other countries and came back to Eretz Yisrael, they were for 70 years influenced by different cultures, different foods, cuisines, all that stuff. So when different clothing, and when they came back, they kind of had they found like some sort of medium where everyone agreed on, and that's the Sephardi religion that we live with today. But so the Yemenites, they don't pronounce things the same way, they don't do things the same way. So that alone was very confusing to even learn things differently and then come home and it's not done the same way. But it was, like I said, being non-religious. Like I felt very non-religious. Going to a non-Jewish school, having non-Jewish friends. Shabbat came around. I didn't appreciate the Shabbat. I didn't honor the Shabbat. And despite the fact that I believe that Hashem created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh, I didn't know what that means. Well, if you believe that, then follow in his footsteps and rest on the seventh. I was like, no, I can believe it and do this also.
Yeah.
I say, let me do me and let God do him. And, as long as we don't step on each other's toes, like, what's the problem? That was how I felt.
Yeah. It makes so much sense because you're a reflection of your environment.
Right.
And you like your environment was a little bit more comfortable to live in according to the, so to speak, differences or rules that you feel you'd have to like upheld to practice religiously. If you're just being told this is what we do now, it's sort of empty. We don't really appreciate, but why? Yeah,
the why. That was really what was missing for me. Why?
Yeah.
I didn't get the why. In my house, I was told what to do, and my father knew everything. My father is an appendix of alachot, and
he's so smart.
I mean, he really, really. Baruch Hashem, the amount of Torah that he has in his head, I wish it was hereditary, but it's not. But he was just always, he was very makpid, very tough, he was very strict. Like, that's what you're doing. That's how you know. Yeah, but why?
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And what was it like for you? Now you're religious. I'm not sure if you're in college and you're navigating dating.
So I started dating a little later, actually, meaning like seriously dating. Like I was just like, before I became religious, if I met a guy or went on a date, but I didn't really start to like date until I was like 24, 25 when I started to become more religious. And it definitely transitioned the way I thought, because I was like, okay, I'm not going to go out with this type of guy anymore because like I want someone who keeps Shabbat, who keeps kosher. I wasn't even in the mindset of covering my hair. And it's so funny because I remember so vividly before I went on an Israel trip, before I started to become religious, I was at a like get together and someone wanted to introduce me to a guy, and the guy wasn't he was Shomer Shabbat and I wasn't. And like he was talking to me and we were kind of getting to know each other, and my friend is like, you should go out with him. He's a good guy, but like you would have to become religious. You would have to wear skirts, this. And I was like, I wouldn't do that for a guy. Like, what are you talking about? Like, no, if I want to do it, I want to do it on my own. Like not knowing, not even like 3 weeks later, like I took something upon myself, like it's just so crazy how things work out. But once I started becoming more religious, a kind of a flow of shidduchim kind of came in also. But also like very thankful for my parents. They never pressured me. It's like, if it happens at the right time, the right person, like that's all that matters. So I definitely didn't really feel the pressure of dating until I started becoming older. And like, once I also hit 25, all my friends from high school, which were my main group of friends, started getting married. Like one after another after another. Like I felt like I was that that movie 27 Bridesmaids.
27 Dresses?
Yeah. Like I felt I was like that. Like whoever I became friends with got married. It was like crazy. And then once they all got married, I was like, oh shoot, like who am I going to hang out with now? You know, like, I mean, I'm still close with them, but like who do I go out with? You know, that part felt like a little confusing, but really Hashem navigated like everything so perfectly. I started getting introduced to new people, also like doing the outreach and like volunteering kind of opened my circle up to people. I started meeting people in Brooklyn and Queens and like Montreal and Toronto. So that definitely helped broaden my horizons of like meeting people. And I started making new friends, which kind of also allowed me to like go on dates with different people. But I never really had like a serious relationship until I met Orion when I was 29. So like it was just like dates here and there, but like nothing, it never went anywhere. And I also was mostly dating within the Persian community. It just kind of happened, not even like purposely. I mean, I went on dates with like Ashkenaz and other types of Sephardi, but it just felt more comfortable at the time. You know, like I want to be with someone, at least this is what I thought I needed, you know? Like I want to be with someone who's the same culture as me, who understands how I grew up, who understands, you know, so I don't have to like deal with that clash or,
of course,
you know, and then this handsome fella came along. But
and were people respectful of that when they were making suggestions to you and you were navigating dating?
Oh yeah, I mean, I signed up for like every single dating website you can think of. Saw You at Sinai, Why You Connects, J Swipe, J Date, like all of it, like the local ones in Great Neck. But I never actually went on a date with anyone from those. And like I would go to all the single events too, like FIDF and all that stuff. And I would also make single events, like, but nothing really came of it. I would meet people, I would go on dates, and like also like I would speak to shadchanim also. They were very respectful. Like I would say, you know, like I rather Persian, but if not, then if not, you know. It just never went anywhere.
And during that chapter of time, were you able to stay optimistic, or did you experience lows and challenges?
So it started to hit hard when my new group of friends, which were 5 years younger than me, they started to get married. And that's when it like hit. And I was like, oh my gosh, wait, if they're getting married and I'm still single, like who do I hang out with now? How do I meet people? Like, where do I go? And then I had like a couple of friends my age that were still single, and they moved to the city. So I would go to them on the Upper East Side for Shabbats. Like we would go to Safra. Okay, I was like, okay, fine. We're meeting new people this way too. And I was like, okay, wow, such a breath of fresh air. Leaving Great Neck, such a breath of fresh air. Meeting people who were actually my own age and older versus like younger, you know? But it also hit hard when I have 3 brothers. My younger brother, who's 6 years younger than me, he got engaged. And I was like so happy for him. I'm obsessed with him. But it just like, it hurt a little because I was like, ugh, like what now? You know?
We'll be right back to our episode, but first, you have to check out Pizza Biza, making fresh hot pizzas on the spot by their professional chefs, indoor or outdoor in their pizza ovens, meat or dairy, plus full catering around the tri-state area and Florida. Specializing in events with several hundred people with no lines. You heard right. Full menu. You have to check them out on Instagram at Pizza Biza and visit them at pizzabiza.com. Pizza's my favorite food, so please invite me, Pizza Biza, on Instagram, and check them out at pizzabiza.com. These are the people you want to call. Pizza Biza, I'll see you at my next event. For so long, we've been taught to believe that you need to wait for things to change in order for life to get better. And you deserve to live the life of your dreams before things change. And that's what Live Better Academy is here for, enabling you to enrich your life by exploring the 5 core areas that contribute to your fulfillment and happiness. This course is here to make sure that you no longer need to wait. Exploring spirituality, health and wellness, recreation and soul, social support and environment, and your profession and ambition, my course helps you understand what you're missing, explore any gaps that need areas of improvement, and truly understand what you need to do to create the life that you deserve. It's a 5-week course, so you have to be fully committed. But the easy part is that it's all virtual. You can access it anywhere and anytime. It includes pre-recorded classes, intense coursework material to take the information, turn it into application, and ultimately transformation, and a live group class, which includes me and your peers. It's truly extraordinary, and I want you to be a part of it. So if you are interested, click the link below to schedule your free 15-minute consultation to see if it's the right fit for you, or send a quick text message to the number below to schedule your free 15-minute consultation. I cannot wait to meet you and be on this journey with you so that you can finally live life better. I think there's a sense, when you mention it hurt a little, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's a sense of loss. There's a sense of, in our family, I was excited to be the older sister, and I would be dating someone, and you'd come over and you'd meet him. And there's a sense of loss of experience. Like, wait, now you're getting married, and it almost may seem or may feel, and maybe I should speak for myself as a sister that has had, thank God, 2 crazy awesome younger brothers get married. It feels like my experience that I've been looking forward to as your older sister is no longer an option, being that these firsts that I wanted to share with you and guide through with you are no longer mine. Now they're yours. And I feel like maybe sometimes it's helpful to have context to the pain for people that share, like, yeah, it's so painful that the younger sibling's getting married. Sometimes people have shared it makes them almost seem older. Like, this person's experience aged that older sibling, which is so unfortunate.
Right. I didn't feel that way. It hurt for a little, but then my mindset kind of shifted to, okay, wait, maybe my future sister-in-law, she could be bringing in my mazal. Mm-hmm. So, and I always also told my brother like that before he proposed. I remember he told me, he's like, I'm going to wait a little longer. Like, I could wait a little longer. I was like, no, like this is your mazal. My mazal will come, maybe yours will bring mine. And I really think it did, because I met him, I think, when my brother got married. We were dating for a month.
Aw, so let me transition it to you.
I wasn't invited to the wedding.
No, I'm Persian. You can't invite someone you've only dated for a month. That's a huge no-no.
What was dating like for you at 30 at this point?
Where are we starting, at 30? Or?
Ooh, it's a good question. We could start a little before then.
So I could tell you that I always thought I'd get married very young. I wanted to be married since the age of 15. I don't know if it's because I just wanted to start my own family so I could be, the one making the rules. It could be that. I'm the youngest of 5. So I didn't have that feeling of someone, doing, cutting in before me and getting in there or something. But always knew had to be Jewish. No chance it was going to be anyone but a Jewish girl that I would marry. Otherwise, my parents will not be at that wedding. So there's no question. I had a 5-year relationship, a 2-year relationship. And I always thought that the one that I was dating was at the time the one, because I wouldn't invest in them if I didn't think they were the ones. So it would be a little bit more casual for me if I didn't think that you were worthy of, top level. Mm-hmm. But I realized when I became religious and I grew, I evolved mentally and emotionally and spiritually, I realized why Hashem was holding me back from getting married all this time. Because I was not ready. I was definitely not ready. If I went into marriage with the type of personality that I had when I was younger, I'd probably be a statistic at this point. I do believe that.
Wow.
So yeah, eventually, like I said, became religious.
How did you become religious, if I may interrupt? I mean, I know you told us about the bookstore, but then
that was it.
Where'd you go from there?
So it starts, shout out to Chabad. Always shout out to Chabad. It was always like just making it. Yeah, that was my transition. My transition was Chabad. Chabad is right near us. I used to go there anyway sometimes, but it became, headquarters, and I was going there all the time. And then eventually, once you start growing with your reading, you start wanting to get into your Nusach. You want to start hearing the Shabbat instead of Shabbos and all these other whatever words they're pronouncing. And so I just started going to Sephardi shuls and that was it. It was slow. Baruch Hashem, you meet another friend. This person becomes someone who inspires you. Chavruta, my first chavruta. Shout out to Ma'o Bendel, who also gives shiurim on I don't know where he does it, but he's all over the place in Brooklyn. And yeah, it's Torah growth, and there was definitely a ups and downs where. I remember being setting up on like dates, and people say, I have someone for you. And I had such emunah, such bitachon that Hashem would give me exactly what's tailor-made for me that I wouldn't even ask to see a picture. Like, set it up, go do it. Then I learned my lesson, and then I was like, all right, for now, at least let me see a picture. But regardless, I always felt like it was coming. But then there was a point where it's like, all right, maybe it's me. Obviously when you think to yourself, what kind of person you want to be with, you start making a list. You're like, okay, I want them to be, and we're not even talking about like so many physical things. We're like, I want this tall, blue eyes. No. I was like, okay, this age, this background, this. I remember as a Yemenite person, one time I told a person, he's like, what are you looking for? I was like, anything but a Yemenite. He's like, careful, don't say that. I was like, why not? He's like, your mazal might be a Yemenite and you're pushing off your mazal. I was like, okay, all right, I hear you, so I accepted it upon anything. But I always felt like Hashem will give me what's due to me. But then I was like, maybe I'm wrong. I said I wanted someone younger. Maybe she's older than me. I obviously want someone who's, wasn't ever married, not divorced. Maybe she's divorced. And I said, I definitely don't want to marry someone who has children. I was like, who am I to say that my mazal isn't someone with children? So I started opening up myself to more. I started going out with people that on a checklist, I wouldn't pick them. I wouldn't want someone who's older than me. I wouldn't want someone who's, and I went on dates with people that are older than me. I dated people that were divorced with kids, just, put myself out there and to see what's going on, because maybe I'm wrong. And Baruch Hashem, the way we met was, we would have to tell you two stories, because there's the way I met her and then there's the way she met me.
I would love to hear both of them. And I love how you phrase this. Oftentimes people are told, be open-minded. And that sort of information makes it sound like the person is at fault.
Yeah.
But the way you worded it is, well, maybe it's not your mazal, meaning it's not be open-minded, you're making wrong choices. It's be open-minded. We don't know what Hashem has in store.
100%.
And I appreciate that perspective shift. And I also can't jump into the story yet until the two of you share when you say mazal, because it's very clear that you appreciate how it affects your life and how it dictates your life. I want to hear what mazal means to you. For those that are listening that are thinking like, yeah, like how, like what does that mean? And how does that navigate my life?
I think most of the time you don't realize it or appreciate it until after you see the effects or how the outcome is. But most of the time you think your mazal is whatever you think you need. But then once that person comes right in front of you and you're like, yeah, this is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. I want to have children with this person. I would never in a million years think I would marry a Yemenite. Like I would never think, but that's exactly what I needed. Like he is exactly what I needed. And I think it's exactly what Orion said, like being open-minded to be able to accept that and for Hashem to send it to you. Like I always thought, okay, I always kind of prayed in the aspect of Hashem, let him be ready. So like I could see who it is. Like I prayed for him to be ready. And then I realized, wait, hold on. Let me pray for maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I'm not ready to accept him. So I kind of like shifted my prayers also. But like everyone has a sense of a mazal in their life. It's also the like obstacles and journey that you have to go through in order for that mazal to open as well. And like shifting that to be able to receive it.
Thank you for sharing. What would you say, Orion?
It's a loaded question. It's a very heavy question because mazal could just be, you can chalk it up to like fate. It's what's going to happen is going to happen anyway. But I do think that you can affect your mazal by doing certain things, and I think sacrificing yourself for Hashem, as your brother would say, doing things to work on yourself. I used to always like to think, when I was younger, I was always looking for the one, because whoever it is, it's the one. You want to find the one. You're always looking for the one. I got to an age where I realized that it's better to try to become the one. Better yourself, work on yourself, do whatever you have to do to get there so that, again, you can affect your mazal, because your mazal can change at any point. So I just kept working on myself. I just stayed in shul and and again, like I said, highs and lows. There were times where I'm like, everything I'm doing, everything I'm missing. And of course, it's all l'shem shamayim. You're always putting Hashem first, but sometimes you're thinking about when is it going to be my turn? When is it going to be my turn? And I'm thinking about my age, and I'm thinking about how old am I going to be when I'm married? How old am I going to be when I have kids? How old am I going to be to these children? I started thinking about myself, you want to be there when your kids get married, right? What about the people that get to see their grandkids get married? Kudos to them, the ones that got married much earlier, It happened when it happened. Baruch Hashem, like she said, you'll know, and you're like, she pushes all the buttons, but she also ticks all the boxes. She's perfect for me. There's no one better. And because everyone needs the Interconnectivity. You're not going to find, if you're looking for something that's just perfect, I guarantee it's not real.
Yeah. Doesn't exist.
If you're a parent navigating the Shidduch Parsha, feeling anxious, overwhelmed, down, or stuck, then I'm about to change your life. I'm so excited to announce a 5-week live course that I have co-created with the incredible Yafa Palti, exclusively for parents navigating or entering Shidduchim. You may remember Yafa from her SOH episode where she said the viral line that as parents, we should be in the living room. It should not feel like the waiting room. This course will help you shift your mindset, reduce stress, and feel spiritually and emotionally grounded as you support your child and navigate through this stage. It consists of 5 live Zoom classes beginning May 25th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with a special bonus session for dads by Rabbi Niso Palti. And the best part is that the early bird price is the same cost as one coaching session, $180 for the entire 5-week course. But be quick, because this offer ends May 10th in 1 week. So are you ready to join? If you are, click the link in the show notes below or email me at tziporagrodko@gmail.com. Let's make this journey more peaceful for you and for your child. Because when you live knowing that God knows your address, life is grounded and calm, and you get the joy that you and your child deserve to have. So how do you hold tight when you feel like you've done the things you need to do to change your mazal and you're expecting the grand reveal? And as you mentioned earlier, it's practicing that emunah, that I thought I understood, I thought I knew this is what needs to be done, and I don't see things changing.
Your faith is going to be tested every day. And that's the reason why Hashem didn't make life one continuous long day. He didn't have to make the sun and the moon and night and day. Go to sleep, get up, reset. It's hard, especially if every day is yielding the same result. Then it starts to feel like you're in a rut and you're stuck. And it's very, very easy for humans to choose the path of least resistance, where they just go like, I'm done. It's so easy to say I'm done. It's very easy to throw in the towel, but it's not worth it. It's not worth it, because when you get there and you look back, you're like, oh man, all that wasted time. I could have done this sooner. But again, even that, you shouldn't do that. You should not do that. Just like, I don't know, it's the present is a present. They have past, the anxiety. Everyone who thinks about it lives in the past, it's anxiety. Everyone who lives in the future, it's what's the word? Not anxiety is the future. Depression in the past, things you can't control and things you out of control. Work on yourself, but always you got to roll with the punches, because God is going to throw things at you all the time, and sometimes He's going to keep throwing the same thing at you. So even if you made it over that hurdle, don't be surprised if He sends it to you again. Right, you're constantly being tested. You know,
so well said.
I witness it just with parents. You know, I think one of the hardest relationships is the relationship that you have with your parents. I see some people that have amazing relationships with their parents, and I envy them because it's just so easy. And I know that there are some people that are they don't have it, you know, and you're going to be tested over and over and over again.
It's, I have a mentor of mine. She's extraordinary. And sometimes when things are really hard, I'll say to her, like, I don't want to do this. Like, I'm just done. And I don't know if I could keep going. Like, what are the options? And she says, Tzipora, there is no alternative. The alternative to giving up is experiencing the pain of like self-vindicating in that space of just being angry and not pushing and wallowing. There is no alternative. The alternative, like that would be the alternative, but that's not an option anyone wants to take. And it puts things in perspective, because sometimes it's an illusion to feel like, well, I don't really want to move forward, so I'm just going to stay put. But that doesn't heal us. That only brings us down. And sometimes we need to be in that place to realize, oh, what I'm doing actually isn't servicing me. Ooh, let me make a new choice. And I love that perspective that the sun could have just not set, but we always have an option to refresh and start over. And on that note, I would love to hear your version of how the two of you met.
Okay. Where do we begin? 2 years prior to when we actually started talking, I was volunteering, making a singles event. We were raising money to make a camp in an orphanage in Israel.
So cool, Sheba. P.S.
Support.
Yeah,
wow.
Thank God. Baruch Hashem. So I was helping run with a group of other young professionals. And I was working the front of the event, you know, checking people in. And a young man, very handsome, came to the front, and he asked me if he could leave his coat on my chair, because the line for the coat check was really, really long. So I was like, yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, he's cute. And he asked me, you know, like to put in my name on his Instagram. I guess like it's just in case if like.
In case you ran away with my jacket.
Yeah.
Oh, girl, that's not why he asked you.
So he followed me, but like didn't think anything of it. Didn't see him the rest of the night. That's it. Like he didn't exist. I didn't even remember him. 2 years later, it was COVID, and I was starting to get into that like mental rut. Like, okay, how am I supposed to meet people now? You know, but also trying to stay optimistic as much as possible. And one of my sister-in-law's sister, we were on the phone together, and she's like, "You gotta download G-Swipe." I was like, no. I'm not doing that again. She's like, no, you really have to download it. I was like, okay, fine. I downloaded it for like a good month. Nothing came of it. And then I went out to La Marais with 3 of my other girlfriends, and one of them was dating someone. And she goes, okay, girls, how's your G-Swipe going? And I was like, no, it's non-existent. I think I'm going to delete it again. Because like, I don't know, I was getting like uncomfortable messages. I was like, this is not my vibe. Like, I'm not doing it. She's like, no, you just don't know what you're doing. She took my phone. She changed the settings. And she just started swiping every single guy. I was like, okay. She's like, oh, he's cute. oh, he's cute. I was like, okay, can I have my phone back? I woke up the next morning and I'm not exaggerating. I think I had like 15, 20 messages. And I was like, okay, this is a lot of fun. And one of the messages was from Orion and it said, hey, I know you. And I thought it was a pickup line. I was like, yeah, okay. How do you know me? And he goes, you held my jacket at an event like 2 years ago. And I was like, oh my God, yes, I remember that. And then he asked me for my number. I still have the screenshot. And yeah, we dated for like three months and then engaged. But like everything happened so quickly. It was also COVID. So we were just like constantly going on dates.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 3-4 dates a week. And it just went really fast, especially because nothing was open. So we would just like get a drink, go to the park or like grab food, go to the park because like everything was closed. But it was like so instant. Like, wow, Hashem, like I needed to go through all of that uckiness to like be able to appreciate what's right in front of me. Like it was just so, I was just, honestly, I couldn't even like process it mentally because I was like, oh, wow, this is why you made me wait for so long. Like it was like starting to sink in. Yeah. Oh my gosh. On the, I think second or third date is like, okay, so what shape ring do you want? Because if you don't tell me, I'm going to ask your friends. I was like, I don't know you. What are you saying?
Wow.
I was like, what is going on?
So let's hear his version.
So we went to that sip and sport. I went to sip and sport, and it's actually a really funny story that I went there to meet a different girl. I was there to have a date with someone, more like a social setting. I did already like the face-to-face, but I wanted to see how this person acts within a larger group and with her friends at least. And I went there, and it's actually her friend. And I went there, and like she said, co-check line was like they were dropping a new iPhone or something. So I didn't want to wait on that. And I said to her, I saw her sitting at the desk. Yeah, she was beautiful. I walked up to her and I asked her if she would hold my jacket. And she said, yeah, took the Instagram. I don't slide into DMs. It's not my style. It's got to be organic or, and that was it. I went in there, had my, 1 or 2 drinks, was there for less than an hour, got my jacket from her and left. And that was the end of it.
And at that time, you didn't think to ask her out?
No, didn't cross my mind.
It wasn't the right time.
Yeah.
Like Hagar when she didn't see the well, right? They said the well was there the whole time, and then Hashem showed her the well. So it was there the whole time. You just didn't see it. Hashem will make you see it when you see it, when you're ready. So years later, growing spiritually, mentally, and then also on JSwipe, my JSwipe son is actually really funny because I also, when I got on JSwipe, I didn't know what I was looking for in terms of like, they give you just like, what are you? Just Jewish,
so
conservative,
confusing.
reform, this. And I actually didn't even know what any of those things were. Because I thought when I looked at everything, I said, I don't know, I'm just Jewish. Like even the words came out of my mouth. I was like, I guess I'm just Jewish. Then my friend one time saw my thing. He's like, you're traditional, right? I said, I am? He goes, yeah, your family celebrates, but you're not observant. I said, yeah. Oh yeah, that's me. Yeah, I'm a traditional. He's like, yeah, you got to change. I was like, okay, change my changing to traditional. And again, I'm also becoming more religiously aware. Same friend, my chavruta, he tells me one day, he goes, he's like, now you got to update your JSwipe. I said, what do you mean? He goes, to Orthodox. I said, Orthodox? Isn't that like the black and white Ashkenaz? It's like, no, it just means that you hold things like to the letter of the law. It's like, I was like, yeah, okay, I'm Orthodox. All right, I didn't know that, so I changed it also. And from then on, the story is exactly like she said. I saw her. I was like, oh, I remember her. Swipe, and then I was like, hey, what's up? You remember me? And she told me she thought it was a pickup line. I said, I told you have my jacket. She goes, yeah, I remember. Unforgettable. And then I said to her, you want to grab dinner or a drink or something? And she goes, no, I'm busy tonight.
I really was.
She really was.
I really
had
was.
plans. And then I said, Okay, what are you doing tomorrow? For me, it was very casual to try to meet up with her. But I realized today women are very, very, very scared. I personally as a man don't understand why a woman is on a dating app. I mean, dating has to be something done physically in person.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized girls are very scared to meet with people
well, because you were random. I didn't know who he was. The first thing I did was literally message all my friends in Brooklyn. Do you know this person? Do you know this person? Do you know this person?
I mean, that's why you meet at a public setting.
I know, but still, you want to be safe.
And all that stuff. But anyway.
I hear her.
So she asked around about me, and thank God I paid off everyone. So that's it. So then we went out on a date, and she really knew everybody, and everybody knew her, which I thought was really interesting because I've never met her, and I never.
Yeah, I think on almost every date we went on, I was like, oh, I know this person.
It's so interesting because both of your filters were not set properly in order for you to meet previously. And then Hashem put people in your life that said, okay, time to change the filter, at the same time. And that's how the two of you met.
Yeah, it's really crazy.
And when did you know you wanted to marry Sheba?
I think I told her on the second date.
No, I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating. On the second date, I remember vividly. We went bowling. I came, and on our way home, he started telling me all these things. I know why I had to wait this long. It makes so much sense. Everything just works so smoothly. You seem like you're such a good girl, good mido. Wow, this is so eye-opening. And I was like, oh my gosh, who is this guy?
So when he was professing his love, how did you feel about that? Date number 2. It sounds romantic, but can also come across as...
She was very scared.
I was very nervous.
I was very forward, and she's never experienced that before.
Yeah, I've never experienced very forward. He messaged me the next day. I never experienced that either. He was also so chivalrous. Always open the door, open the car, open, it was just every single check to a good person. And I was like, wow, I haven't experienced all of this in one person before. This is so much new. I don't know. Is this normal?
It's almost like when you haven't seen what you want for so long, when it happens, you wonder wait, is this normal, or is this what I've been waiting for?
Yeah, it was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I find that something very interesting when it comes to dating. It's something me and my friends have discussed, how you don't really have what to compare it to because you haven't yet met the right person.
Exactly.
So you almost have no frame of reference of what it's supposed to feel like.
Right.
And
that's why sometimes
it's just an interesting idea. No, go ahead.
That's why sometimes also you have to be a little careful with how you share things.
Yeah.
Because what something might be right for me might not be right for you.
100%.
So I was a little also I was very careful with who I spoke with because I wanted to speak to someone who really understood me and knows where I come from and understands what I kind of would want. So when I spoke to a couple of my friends, it was maybe 2 of them, and they're like, no, Sheba, just give it a chance, don't rush, take your time, to give it a chance, see where it can go. If you don't see any, anything wrong, it's maybe he's really being genuine and it's very fast, but maybe he's open.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he definitely was.
And how long have the 2 of you been married for?
Since 2021.
Yeah, 4 years. 4.
Beautiful.
June?
Yeah, this
1st?
June will be 4 years.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Baruch Hashem.
Wow. It's you are both from such different worlds.
Yes.
Living such different lives. And
I didn't even know Persians existed.
I didn't know Yemenites existed.
And at the right time, God brought the 2 of you together on your personal journeys and then on the journey that would lead to both of you. And I want to know, what message would you give to people listening who are still on their journeys and they're like, wow, this has been long and I'm tired and they're losing hope. What message would you give them?
Me first?
Yeah, sure.
All right. It's not even so much with dating. It's more about yourself. And I think it goes back to that word about sacrifice. I think a lot of times like, don't forget, first of all, we're Jewish. And we have a certain set of rules and laws that apply to us that don't apply to the rest of the world. And whether you want to play the game is being played. You're in it. And so there are rules. And you can, for arguments, you could double dribble, you could travel, whatever. But the point is that it's counted negatively against you. And you could do it, and Hashem will let you. Hashem will let you do a lot of things around, but sometimes you will reap the rewards. And trust me, they might not be as rewarding as you think. And so I think a lot of times people want the quick fix. They want to be able to do that one thing that, like what do I need to do? Put on tefillin every day? I'll put on tefillin. You want me to start? I'll keep Shabbat. Sure, I'll keep Shabbat. I think deep down, nobody knows you better than you know yourself. Everybody knows what is holding them back. Everybody knows. It's that one thing you don't want to do. Challenge yourself. Approach that. Start doing that thing that you want to do, and you'll see growth. And it's when you start challenging yourself that you're going to see the reward of your challenges. If everything that you're doing is easy, then maybe that's why you're not seeing the reward. Maybe, I'm keeping Shabbat and I'm keeping kosher. And but maybe it's really easy for you. Maybe for another person who it's really hard for them to keep Shabbat and really hard for them to keep kosher, maybe they'll do it and they'll see the reward because it was a really, real big challenge for them. But maybe for you, it's not. Look into yourself. Nobody knows you better than you. You know exactly what remedy you need. And I say, if I could suggest anything to anyone, do that. Do that thing. Make a I don't want to say drastic. It's just make something challenging that. And again, I don't want to say that Hashem will take notice of you, because it's not like Hashem doesn't notice. Hashem knows. Hashem feels everything you're going through. Trust me, He's sad when you're sad, and He's happy when you're happy, and He wants us all to be happy. But there are rules. Hashem made this world with certain rules, and we're not above them. Yeah. We're above some of them as Jews, but we're not above all of them.
Yeah. And it sounds very meaningful. If someone feels like they're stuck in some predicaments, spiritually, financially, personally, and you're just waiting, it's a lot more fulfilling to examine yourself and say, where can I improve? Not for the sake of expecting God to change, but for my own personal tikkun, for my own personal growth. Because by default, as we grow, we enhance our life, and then there's ripple effects of change. And it's a win-win. It's a win-win.
Again, and the Gemara says, "Lefum agra schara." Like it's according to the challenge, that's the reward.
Yeah. Thank you.
My turn?
Yeah.
My advice would be, obviously you have to have that level of emunah, but I know sometimes it gets a little, I don't want to say irritating, but like, okay, it's the same thing. Okay, one day soon for you, it's going to happen, But don't be in the mindset of, okay, because you're single, like you have to feel like you're down or feel less of yourself. Like, this is the time for you to work on yourself. This is the time for you to be your best version. This is a time for you to go travel, go see the world, go make new friends, make connections, learn, like find someone you could learn with, go out. Like, just because you're single doesn't mean the world is ending. Like, okay, so you're single, but be your best version so that way you could receive your best mazal. Mm-hmm. And when you're in that rut, it really influences what you'll receive as well. And like, you'll see such a big difference in being positive. And yes, you're allowed to cry and like get to those low moments. But as long as you're crying out in the way of like, Hashem, I'm ready to receive it, instead of crying out of like deep sadness, or like, it will come. I promise it will come. Be patient. It will come. Just don't get into that point where, because you're single, like it's like you have a loss. I mean, I understand to the aspect of like, you feel like you're missing a part of yourself, but be your best version, like work on yourself and it'll come.
Yeah. It's like when you look in the mirror, what do you see? Do you see someone that you're proud of? Do you see someone that's aspiring to live a life you love?
Yeah.
Or do you see someone that's incomplete, someone that is standing out, someone that's value is less than? It all depends on our perception. And I know you mentioned in your story that you were always constantly being proactive and making new friends and starting new initiatives. And
Yeah.
we are the boss of our own life. We are the pilot of our journey. And it's important for us to be told, like, sometimes you need to be told, like, it's you. Like, yeah, there's a lot that's uncomfortable and can't seek it elsewhere. You have the power to create that change. And I think that's usually when we get the most defensive, like, oh, who are they to tell me what to do? And it's like, wait, but I have control. And this is something I can do. And that's in my hands. So thank you for sharing. This has been so fun. This has been so fun and so special. And it's a Yemenite and a Persian on their journey of growth through the beautiful platform that's unexpectedly J-Swipe. And
Yeah.
Don't we get something when people get married on J-Swipe?
I don't know.
do you get something?
I don't know. I heard.
It's
I feel like it's a spouse.
a birthday cake.
Like you get a spouse, you know? You get a spouse. And never underestimate where it may come from or what it might look like.
Yeah.
Because as you mentioned, we don't know our mazal. We don't know. But I like to tell my friends, I'm so curious. I'm so curious to know what God has in store.
Oh, yeah. I said that all the time. I even had a friend who said, when your husband decides to arrive in your life, he's getting a punch from me. Because what took you so long?
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for having
so special.
us.
It's been amazing to meet you.
You too.
Who knew astrology could be so fascinating? I mean, probably you, but I never met someone firsthand that did a complete 360 simply from their interest in astrology. Wasn't that such an interesting episode? I want to hear what you like the most. So please let me know in the comment section below. Let Sheba and Orion know. It means the world to them. You know how much bravery it takes to come up and open up your heart and soul and share it with the Jewish people? But when you have a passion, when you can appreciate the impact that you can have, you're willing to bypass the discomfort, knowing that the change will be worth it. If you have a story that you've been hesitant to share, you can reach out. We can jump on a call and see if this is the right fit for you. I totally understand how uncomfortable it can be. But again, it's usually through discomfort that big change can happen. So reach out to me at soh@meaningfulminute.org if you want to share your story, if you have thoughts about this previous story, or if you have further comments or questions on what we can do to make Stories of Hope a much better podcast for you. Can't wait to see you next week. And thank you for watching another special episode of Stories of Hope.